Hello good people and welcome back to Level Up Your Opening. If you are d4 player as white, then you've encountered many a d5 response from black, so you're familiar with the good old-fashioned Queen's Gambit. Most of the time black will stick with the declined version, but what happens if and when your opponent later decides to take your offer on the Gambit? Let's prepare ourselves for some candidate chaotic lines that will likely push our tactical spidey senses. Let's boost that ELO. Let's get it.
Round one, fight!
Alright guys, let's do a quick recap of the Queen's Gambit. Declined, but late capture. Sort of a late accepted. We got d4, d5, c4, the actual Gambit, e6, knight to f3, knight to f6, knight to c3, and unbeknownst to you, or well, you'll see it on the board because they'll play it, captures. What to do here? The usual maneuver is to take the center, try to boot out that knight, maybe not immediately because they can go to this square, but also have c4 attacked. Oh, before I begin, before I forget, if you do like this content, find it tolerable, and it's helping your game, please leave a like and sub. You have my gratitude. Let's get started. Alright, so variation starts with d4, d5, c4, e6, knight to f3. Attacking e5, still the Gambit exists, knight to f6, knight to c3, and now we have the capture. D takes on c4, delayed, kind of Queen's Gambit accepted. Here we'll play e4. In this variation, the opponent wants complete kind of a battle on the board, blood on the board, so counterattacks with the idea of c5. Not fatal, not a blunder or anything, just want to attack one of our center pawns instead of the bishop to b4 variation. And in here, we'll play bishop to g5. Undeveloped, we haven't castled, we have this under attack. If this gets captured, we take, but we just pin the queen there, and then the idea of freeing up the rook if need be. In this position, c takes d, knight takes d. Little sharper than your usual Queen's Gambit, because we still have the center pawn, we have a pin there, the king's in the middle. Their idea is on the dark square diagonal there, and now you have a pin, bishop to b4. You just take. And now the opponent takes on bishop to c3 in this variation. After takes, of course, we fractured our pawn structure there, so the opponent plays queen to a5. And it does get tricky in this position what to play. This you gotta kind of pattern recognize off memory. You could play passively, but you kind of ruined your structure there. Instead, take on f6. Leave this pawn hanging. Just embrace the wildness. After takes, you don't want to block because you lose a piece. And mind you, this is hanging next move. You have to go to f1, king to f1. Queen takes with tempo. This is hanging as well. Well, you slide off to f1. In the current analysis of the position, it looks like it's such a terrible way to play this opening as white, considering the rook is kind of useless and the king is in the opposite side of it. But this has a lot of venom. Specifically because this is hanging still, the opponent can't capture there, because that's just a tomato sauce blunder. Yeah. Why is that a blunder? It's because the king has not castled, but more importantly, these two are in the same file. So rook to c1 simply. And basically ends the game. So, captures and you lose a rook. And there are actually ideas here, because this knight can't move because of the pin. So you get check, and then this is lost. Still hanging, but this is also hanging in the next move. In this position, black played queen to a6. Logical, right? Because you're avoiding this idea. But going back, the strong move is actually bishop to d7. It's hard to see that. But if you can remember this line as white, queen to a6 is a complete disaster of a move, even though it looks evasive because of this idea. and the fact that the queen is eyeing that square on d8. So given those hints in this position, I'd like for you to look for the bone-crunching, absolutely game-ending move. Yes, I said game-ending because of this queen to a6 sidestep. I'll give you guys the answer in 3, 2, and 1. White wins by sacrificing the knight on e6. You have 2 threats. More importantly, you have the juggernaut. The juggernaut queen wants to end the game. The king cannot castle. So they try to defend. You infiltrate again. Strong move. Threatening. Checkmate here. And after takes, it's a mate. Of course, takes here is also a mate. And what's left? What's left is for the black queen to go a little sacrifice to delay 1 or 2 moves, and after that, it's still a forced mate. Sorry, here and here. So guys, I want to go back to the part where black correctly defends with bishop to d7. You simply take. And I want to show you how wild this position gets if you like dynamic chess and your opponent delays the capture but still captures. Rook to g8, you hit the queen, and now bishop to f6. It's anyone's game, but it's absolutely wild. My kings are in g1, your king's still on e8, and you try to attack because you don't want this anchored here. If I can get my knight here, or my queen there, the game is fatal. So, I play a bit of a trap, sorry. Try to divert the queen, and if they take, you get knight 2. You can't take because you get checkmated. You want to try to defend, but you can't. You either to go back there, but then you get checkmated with a knight here. So now we got queen to d6, and you cannot touch this piece. You can't. You're threatening mate. It's actually quite over. You have this as a weakness. If you take here, then simply knight to c7 you have to take. Otherwise, king to d8, check, and it's game over. So what happens is, to delay it, the opponent plays knight to c6, but then you play this move knight to c7 anyway. There are no escape squares. Queen needs to take it. Queen takes. Guess what? The game is over. Totally, absolutely over. So quick recap, guys. d4, d5, c4, e6, knight to f3, knight to f6, knight to c3. D takes, delayed, queen's gambit, declined but accepted, e4. Hit. There is a pin. Takes, takes. Now, ideas, of course, is to capture here. Ideas for black is to pin and hit there. Takes on c4, takes, and now you give black the options, but you don't move back, you capture. So after check, sidestep to f1, sidestep, and again you give black the options. What do you want to do in this position? This is coming, there's an attack there. Of course, if he takes again, tomato sauce, game over. Also, queen to a6 ends the game in standard Tal-like Kasparovian Fischer-esque fashion. Threatening mate in 1, you resist, but queen to d6 breaks the game, and it's mate. Here's another variation of Queen's Gambit. Declined and late acceptance. Wow, it sounds like you're being accepted to university or something. Sure, why not? Anyways, d4, d5, knight to f3, knight to f6, c4, initiating the gambit, e6, knight to c3, and they take anyway. Well, the usual fan favorite, strongest move is e4. And now the previously mentioned bishop to g5 pinning, delaying the capture here. So after c5, attacking one of the central pawns, you push, takes. This is threatened. You have to do something about it. Your king is pinned. Takes. And now, this is, well, the fork in the road. You capture and allow this. You do have this if need be, but the thing is, let's see what happens. In this position, the strongest continuation is e takes on f6. And here, black has to tread carefully. I have to say that, carefully. Because my good people, g5 is poisoned. It's one of those positions where reciprocal damage can happen if one makes one wrong mistake. Because in this position, black took on g5, and that is a blunder sauce, tomato sauce. And look at the light squares. Who's defending that piece? Nobody's defending that piece. So, simply checks. How do you defend it? Well, knight 2. c6, take out the defender. They give a check, of course. But after takes, the opponent castles. So if we continue, then you get absolutely barbecued in this position. A good old-fashioned barbecue, and you have nice defense here later on for that square. So going back, what if, and the strongest continuation, what if black doesn't take the poisoned bishop? I have to say it like that, the poisoned bishop, and instead plays the correct move, bishop to c3. Well, life continues for both. It's still a very sharp position. Takes. You have to capture back. And now takes. It's very dubious to take here and just have your king side busted, by the way. So takes first. Queen takes. Now queen 2, d2. Opponent castles. And now you can take. You can take because this is poison. Another poison. Poison among poisons. And if they take here, it's game over. It's an absolute blunder because you castle. And the king gets absolutely barbecued. They want to protect the square. You have this idea of a pin. So if they play, say, queen to h3, you have check, and then here, and then mate. So check, check, check. Game over. Was that too fast? Well, again, going with the concept of 1, the pin, and then the threat of mate. So if they defend the square, you give a check. King goes here, you give a check on f6. This is the only exit square, so you give a check. They block here, and it's game over. Quick recap. So we got d4, d5, knight to f3, knight f6. You attack c4, offering the gambit. e6, knight to c3 takes, delayed. e4, attacking here. Now you got the pin. I said that with a Z. The pin. Opponent strikes the center, also allowing luft, but now the position is sharp. Push. Takes. Takes. You have the pin against you. You have the pin against the queen, so they play queen 2, a5. If takes just looks edible, that it's poison. After takes, blunder, check on a4, capture the defender. They try to counterattack, reduce the damage, but they cannot capture this because it's a double attack. After takes, game is over. Hope you get something out of that. I know I did. I'll try to play this line. You can't hope for the opponent to capture on d takes c4, but when they do, well, you can present that absolutely violent line, and hopefully everybody plays correctly. I'll see you guys later. Double peace.